perfect.
That should be your introduction.
That's it. I'm gonna introduction. All right, so here we go. Welcome to our first ever Frontline First Podcast, video shoot, whatever we're calling it. Tonight we are welcoming Scott Little, Chief of Manheim Township Fire Rescue. Also, Senior Master Sergeant, just promoted Senior Master Sergeant, Pennsylvania National Guard, 193rd Wing. Welcome, Scott.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
A little bit about our Frontline First program, since this is our first broadcast. Something that kind of came into Nick's brain, how long ago?
2015.
Oh, wow, so it's been that long. Nick talked to me first about it 18 months ago, 19 months ago.
About that. It was the Fire Chiefs
golf tournament. He came to me and said, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah.
But first you have to come sell mortgages for me. I said, let me think about it.
Worked.
And here we are. So Nick had this idea. You want to talk about a little bit how it came to be?
Yeah, so it was part of a program back in 2015, and, real estate's what we do. Mortgages is what we do as our day job, but the real estate industry as a whole, there's a couple of programs out there that do benefit first responders, military. So, it wasn't the idea of reinventing the wheels, just doing it better, a little cleaner. I'm comfortable saying that. So the program I was a part of, we had to pay for it. You didn't get a whole lot for it. So it was a great concept. I felt like it was almost there. And I just decided one day, I'm just going to do it myself and do it better. So coming into 2021, we knew real estate markets and stuff were going to turn. We were looking for a campaign of some sort to, just change the conversation in our world and do good things at the same time. So kill two birds with one stone. So the light bulb went off, said, look, if there's ever a time to do it, now's it. So that's pretty much why the timing of it happened. But Frontline First as a whole, we're revamping the website. It's going to be front and center. It's appreciating the underappreciated. That's really what it comes down to, and just making sure that the appreciation for what people do, public service, military, anybody that goes to work every day to protect the rest of us from something or anything, even teachers, in schools teaching our children, no matter what's kind of going on, making sure that the appreciation isn't convenient. We're not appreciating the military because there's a war going on, not appreciating, fire and police because of a 9/11 event. I know I'm using pretty drastic examples there, but that's really what it comes down to, just making sure the underappreciated are always appreciated, not just when it's convenient to the rest of us. So that's pretty much what, the idea is behind Frontline, and it's kind of created into the little mini monster that it is today. So, we have the real estate program that, we're going to elaborate on probably in other videos here. We want to make sure we, do our spotlight with Scott here. And, we did the one fundraiser for Jason Boyer this year, which Scott was a huge part of and helping us accomplish. And, that went great. And now we're doing the podcast here. So
Did a 9/11 Murph where we almost died.
Yes.
In the pouring down rain.
Yeah.
I forgot my vest, and Scott hey, want to wear an air pack? I was like, yeah, why not? Didn't walk for 3 days. Awesome. Well, Scott, you're our special guest here tonight, so let's just kind of start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where are you from?
Where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin?
Yeah, so born and raised in York County. Graduated from Spring Grove Area High School.
Won't hold that against you.
In 2001, and it was always about serving others, even as a kid. So I started volunteering at a local fire company across the street from my house when I was 14 years old. Right, it's always been a passion of mine, as far back I can go, about being a firefighter, and having been able to accomplish that now has come full circle, and it's just the childhood dream. I get to live it every day, right? So it's about serving others. Pretty much is all I know in my entire life. So it's important that I was grounded, young and raised, I believe, the right way, and have good role models in my life that gave me these opportunities that I know we'll talk about tonight. But it's born and raised in York County there, and then now happy to be a resident of Lancaster County.
Come to the dark side.
The dark side.
Did you have family in the fire department at all, or just?
No, actually, that's one unique thing. There's nobody in my family. everybody knows pretty much in the fire service, it's generational, right? It's a generational thing, and here in Lancaster County, we know there's multiple generations that are serving in the fire companies in Lancaster County. But I come from a family that nobody served. But again, it was that passion as long as I remember as a kid growing up, where I'd have my parents have to have my birthday parties in the fire stations growing up. And, here we are today, and we can expand on that.
There you go.
Go to college?
I did. So that's an after.
After.
Right. So actually, I took a different path. Graduated high school, and as my friends, when we graduated in 2001, as they were.
There you go.
I saw you move. I thought I had to.
You sound great.
So in 2001, graduating high school, I remember in one of my classes where the teacher said, "Hey," it was an all seniors class, and he said, "Raise your hand if you're going to college." 20 people raised their hand. I was the only one not. And he said, "Well, who's going in the military?" So I was the one. And I'll tell you, like our graduating class of about 300 people, I think we had 12 of us that were going into the service. So again, special times and purpose, right? Because this is pre 9/11. So at that point,
what, May, June?
Yep. So graduate in June of 2001, you have no idea what's coming a few months later. But I made that commitment the year before in 2000 and went to MEPS, as you know, the duck walk.
Duck walk, yep.
Yeah, we do the duck walk, and it was something that I knew I needed to do. And I knew trying to become a career firefighter, the path to make it easier, I thought, in that journey was I can go in the military and get those veteran preference points. That was the whole goal.
That was, yeah.
That was the goal of I'm going to go in, do my time, get out, have those 10 points, and get a paid firefighter job somewhere.
Right. Right? Most paid departments you can't go to 21, correct?
It depends on the agency.
Okay.
Like for locally here, the two paid departments in Lancaster County, you have Lancaster City and also Manheim Township, and we both are at the age of 18.
Okay. I just compared to police officers. I know it's 21, so a lot of guys go military, get the preference points, get out at 22, and then pursue it that way.
Yeah, so that was the high school kid, that was my path, right? I'm going to get this paid fire job, get these veterans points. I'm going to do 6 years in the reserves, get out, call it a day, right?
Yep.
Obviously, we know that's not the path that ended up. And
so you're on Paris Island.
I was on Paris Island.
You wake up the morning September 11th.
I was in the battalion commander inspection when the first plane hit.
Jeez.
And being there a couple months before me, the game that's played. So during those 13 weeks at Paris Island, you start knowing weeks 3 and 4, this is all a game, right? I'm going to wake up every morning, and we're going to go to chow. Then we're going to go train. We're going to PT. We're going to go to chow at lunch, right? So your whole day mentally becomes that, all right, just get to chow and keep knocking it off that way, right? So
by battalion commander, you're counting wake-ups, aren't you? 'Cause you're
exactly.
A week out, 10 days out.
That was Tuesday. Friday's graduation. So Thursday's family day, right? That we obviously did not partake in. And so on that morning of September 11th, that's exactly what we're doing, going through the battalion commander inspection. And then the drill instructor pulls up blowing his car horn, screaming out the window, we're going to war. My first thought is, here we go, it's a game, right? We've been playing that for 13 weeks all but, and this is just another part of it, because within 72 hours we're graduating. So they want you mentally prepared to go to the next place after basic training. And obviously that wasn't what was happening.
Yeah, so talk to the next couple of days there. I know you and I have talked about it privately, just your graduation, access for families, the security levels, those types of things.
Yeah, so part of basic training is you get assigned with people that you end up at the airport with. Once you got to Charleston, in the basement, as you know. And It just so happened my group is all from Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, New York, right? So my rack mate in the squad bay, he's actually from New York City, and his brother works across from the World Trade Center. So at that moment of the battalion commander inspection, we all got pushed back to the squad bay, and that's when they said if you live in Pennsylvania, Virginia, or New York, you're calling home. So that's when we started realizing. And then they, obviously pull the TV monitors in, and we get to start watching it, in real time and really processing. Here we go.
Which calling home is not an option on Parris Island. It just doesn't happen. When I was there, so for those listening in, I graduated boot camp May 11th, 2001. Also, my plan was to go to law school and let the military pay for it. I went through in peacetime. I was 23 at that time, had already gone to college, decided I wanted to join the Marine Corps. I went and did it. I graduated May 11th, 2001. So that morning, I was actually sitting in a bank as a financial specialist at First Union. I was with a client. My phone kept ringing. It was my dad. I picked it up. I was like, Dad, what is going on? He's like, do you see what the fuck's going on? We're getting attacked. And he just hung up on me. I was like, what? And next thing I know, one of the tellers walks in tears, and she's like, somebody just said that we're under attack. And so I excused myself, went upstairs to the lunchroom, turned the TV on, and clearly, that's just what was on the news. And by noon, I had already gotten a call. We had to be in formation at 5 o'clock that day, up in Reading, because I was also reserves, artillery unit out of Reading. We had to be in formation. I spent the next 3 weeks walking a post with live ammo, around our fence line. It was a crazy time. But just going back to Parris Island, where you don't get phone calls, we're a little different than the Army, than the Air Force, than the Navy. You show up that day and you get one phone call, hey, I'm here, thanks, see you, bye. And that's it. All your communication after that is by letter. Unless you do something special or you get hurt. So yeah, for them to tell you you're calling home, it was pretty serious.
And then, it's okay. The coordination, how are you going to get off the island then
right.
on Friday?
Yeah.
And our graduation on the parade deck had Cobras flying over. And then when they said dismiss, you had 15 minutes to get in your cars and get off Parris Island. So, yeah, never having that time with the family to show them.
Yeah, because I know with us, the series before you, your parents show up. Well, my parents didn't show up, but my wife showed up, and we walked on the base. You got to meet the drill instructor, say hi, go to the PX, and just walk around and show them everything. Family day and then graduation day. So that was different. Yeah, similar to me when I was there. Dale Earnhardt died. I didn't know it until like 5 weeks later.
Yeah.
We're going through Chow Hall. I knew Daytona 500, which back in 2001 NASCAR was still a pretty big deal, and
It's still a big deal.
it's still a big deal to some folks.
We
But
get
yeah,
us in
so
trouble for that shit.
we were going through the Chow Hall on Monday morning, and there was like a whole bunch of Dale Earnhardt cars and stuff. The one cook must have been an Earnhardt fan. We just all assumed he won the Daytona 500, and we didn't dare ask, because I didn't feel like getting smoked that day. So we just all assumed that's who won the Daytona 500. Until 4 weeks later, because the mail's always delayed for when it gets sent, I get a letter from my mom with a newspaper article that he was killed. I was like, holy shit, Dale Earnhardt's dead. And everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
A couple of good old boys from down south, and they were like, nuh-uh, that ain't true, And then to see that Dale Jr. won that day because of what happened in that last lap, and yeah, but just something like that, it's the game.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, but you don't find out until 3-4 weeks later, what actually happened because of how long it takes to process the mail, and it gets to you, and you actually get to read it. If you're allowed to read it, that certain night, if you don't do something stupid and lose that privilege. So
It definitely makes life simple, right?
it does, man. Sometimes you're like, just go back to it. I knew when I was going to eat. I knew when I was going to sleep. I knew when I was going to take a dump. I knew when I was going to work out. It was easy.
They tell you when to do all that.
That's right. Cut it short and wipe it deep. It's time to go run. So after the Marine Corps, then what?
Yes, so during that time, obviously, come back. I got hired in my first paid firefighting position in York County.
Well, before you did that, while you were in still, tours,
Yeah, so you got to remember, like, going reserve. So you go to so I went to the DoD Fire Academy in Texas for 4 months, and then got assigned to my reserve center, which was, at the time, Naval Air Station Willow Grove, in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, just north of the city of Philly. had all major branches there as a reserve center. Very active. It was an A-10 base at the time with the CH-53s from the Marine Corps. And then DOD decided to bracket in 2008. So I was there from, the end of 01, beginning of 02 to 2008 when it got bracked. And during that time, then we obviously deployed to Iraq in 2004 into 2005. So that was the major deployment for our unit. And it was a full wing mobilization. So it was the first time ever that a Marine Corps Marine Wing Support Squadron of 500 Marines was deploying into combat. So fast forward and go to Quantico, to the museum, and actually read about your unit. It was actually pretty cool a couple years later. So
you actually deployed as a wing unit, you didn't get converted to infantry?
No, we stayed as a wing unit, went to Al-Assad, which was the major Anbar Providence. So Al-Assad was the major base for all the aircraft that the Marine Corps had. So we had every Marine aircraft on station. So we were just north of Ramadi and Fallujah. So we were there for the offensive of Fallujah. And then I got flown down to Ramadi at the end of our tour for the final 2 months at a FARP site. So the FARP site's your forward arming and refueling points. So what they do is they insert Marines throughout the combat area, but you're getting closer to the fight. So instead of having the Cobras flying 200 miles back to base, we got set up 75 miles outside of Ramadi, Fallujah. And then we could refuel and rearm the Cobras and get them back into the fight.
Was that a QRF location too?
Yeah, it was. So we had multiple throughout Iraq, but I got to go to Al Qayyum and Ramadi during our time. And Ramadi was, kind of a special place for us because obviously after Fallujah offensive in November of 04, the insurgents moved down to Ramadi, right? And they were causing havoc down there. But for us to be able to be in Ramadi, where you're talking about a population of 500,000 Iraqis living, and to be there for the first free national election, and take part in that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on TV and just how crazy it was.
So
Awesome.
But yeah, great time, right? Like it's all about the camaraderie and building friendships. There's days that you agree the Marine Corps sucks, right? And you go back to the phrase "embrace the suck," but we all embrace it together, and we have fun with it, which is a really cool thing because I think all of us that leave the Marine Corps, you don't forget about the people you served with, right? So that's always important, the connections you built there, and then you can look back and laugh at the days and man, certain days really did suck, but
Yeah.
it was the Marine to your left and right that made it worthwhile. So.
Yeah. Even boot camp, like you said, by week 2 or 3, it was, week 1, week 2, you're shitting your pants. You're like, what the hell did I do? Like, what is going on here? And then by week 3 or 4, it's just, you try not to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get killed. And it's just their whole process of breaking you down and building you back up. But at the same time, all you can do is giggle about it, and just have fun with it because it just becomes hysterical at points, and then other points it does get serious, and you're like, this sucks, Yeah. So all right, so you come back from Iraq and working for York.
Yeah, I was in Springersbury Township, which is just to the east side of York City, working in the fire department there, doing my drill time, and then obviously my first enlistment's up. It's like, all right, I got a decision to make. And at the time the BRAC was happening, I had some friends that were in the Air Guard as firefighters and also worked in the paid fire department with me. And the one gentleman said, hey, the 193rd's an option. And I took him up on it. We interviewed through that process and transferred immediately to the Air Guard at the Middletown. And I guess now the rest is history. That I'm now of year 22, and again, never thinking, as a kid in high school that I would be making the military part of my career and who I am, and shaping me as an individual helping to lead other people and making sure we got good people.
Serving others.
Serving others, right? It's about serving others and putting them first, and making them good people. And I say to staff at work all the time, it's about growing everybody, professionally, but also as a human being, to be a good contributor to society as a human. So it goes back to treating people right. And currently in my position at the 193rd as a first sergeant is really important, because it's about caring about others and respecting. I always go back to, it's pretty easy to treat people right. Mm-hmm. But we all know that people struggle with that concept.
Yep.
We always read about toxic leaders, toxic workplace, and I'm not sure where people fall short on having to just treat people right.
Not that hard.
It's baffling, isn't it?
It is. I talked to a friend who he lectures all over the United States in the fire service and leadership, and he says, people are paying me to go tell them things that they should already be doing, right? I shouldn't have to tell and explain other leaders how they should just be respectful to somebody, and I think the same way. But I think leading people, I can share something with them, and it's always good to see from the back end some of those people that have been able to help mentor and coach, seeing them be promoted in the military or in their civilian jobs, and then on the back end say, hey, thanks for doing what you did for me, because I don't really look at it that way. I'm just offering advice and mentoring in how I know, right? Because I think I don't think it takes much energy to sit down and have a conversation about the good and bad, right? We're always going to have times in the workplace that you really don't want to have those conversations, but it has to be had. Because people don't know different if you don't correct a behavior that needs done.
You can't expect it to change if you don't address it. Yeah.
And I say a lot is, just accept accountability, right? If something goes wrong, accept it. Let's move on from it.
Yeah.
Fall on the sword and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So at what point did you make your move from York County to Lancaster County? Work-wise, moving-wise?
Yeah, so I kind of took a different path and approach. A lot of people get comfortable in the positions they're in, right? We see that a lot in public safety especially, where people say, hey, I got my job, I'm going to be here for 30 years, 40 years, and I'm happy. And that's good. We need people that are like that.
Sure.
For me, it's about kind of that, what can I do to make change? And then when we get to that point, well, then it's time for somebody else, right, to take it. And really from the military perspective, right, even being in the Guard and maybe only doing it once a month, you still have that passion and energy that's igniting you to do better. And unfortunately, in my circumstance in York County, working for Springersbury, it's a smaller municipality. It doesn't have many opportunities, right? So once you get hired there, you're never really going to be able to move anywhere. There's no potential to move up at that point, right? So I had some friends in the federal government. The federal government has its own fire rescue service, so every military installation has a full-time fire department for the most part, and they're civilian. So I had a friend who said, hey, you should come join us, right? You might not run as many calls, you might not do all the really cool things that you do in the civilian side, because once you enter the gate of a military post, it's not a whole lot burns. There's not a lot of car wrecks. But he's like, the opportunity to grow there is endless because you can go anywhere around the world within our system. So I took that leap of faith off of him, and that was a kind of a scary moment because you're leaving a comfort zone, right? Because I've been around people that went to work for 30 years. They went to the same fire station. They did the same job over and over again. And he got me to go there with him. And I went to Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland. So a really unique opportunity to go to that base in particular because of the mission set, right? The infectious diseases, the research labs. So he really got me to go there, and there's a lot of thanks to him for getting me to go and not turning it down. So I went there to Fort Detrick in like 2012, stayed there for a little while, and ended up getting promoted as a station captain at the War College in Carlisle. Again, so it shows you the opportunity to be able to transfer and kind of what you could say bounce around. So I went up to the War College, great couple months there. And again, in the federal system, you have that opportunity to move. And the opportunity to go back to Fort Detrick presented itself, and I was able to go back there as an assistant fire chief and really grow. And that's where, the whole leadership piece for me really just blossomed and elevated me to a different level. Was being able to go there as an assistant fire chief, overseeing 2 bases within the DC region, and gave me a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth. And that's really where the college piece came in, to say, all right, I'm now elevated to this leadership level. I also need to be well-rounded, and I need to get that college education piece to be competitive if I ever want to be a fire chief. So over the next couple of years, worked through it, got to the the associates, the bachelor's out, and then went and got my master's in public administration.
Wow.
And that's where the opportunity one night of seeing that, hey, the city of Lancaster is looking for a fire chief, and then just started doing that research. Finding out that at the time they had a new mayor get elected in 2018, and she was conducting a nationwide search for the next fire chief in the city of Lancaster, and decided, hey, what better way than somewhat locally to New York is let me submit and see how this process goes. And then May 18th, 2018, the official appointment by the mayor of Lancaster to serve as the next fire chief in Lancaster City Bureau of Fire, which allowed me to be the first ever to come from outside that agency to lead that organization. Really? Founded in 1882, wow. And in 2018, the first outsider walked in. Wow. Right, so that's a perspective of, all right, the job that needed to be done as an outsider and how people are going to look at me, right? Because they're going to have a microscope on everything I do throughout my time there, right? And knowing and that's where it's about connecting and knowing what priorities are, right, from city government and how we need to execute it. And in the meantime, you might not make, friends, you might not have full support of people, but at the end of the day, if I know what I'm doing is the right thing, right, for that city or any organization, you can sleep well at night and you can look yourself in the mirror. Yeah. Right. So that's another piece to it. And it's also every morning waking up for me, putting the uniform on, knowing that I'm leading people, and knowing that I'm going to make today better than yesterday. And again, you're not going to please everybody. Yeah. But if we know and hold core values in everything that we do, you can't go wrong in what you're doing for people.
What do you think our country would be like if all of our politicians thought the same way, Scott?
Well, I kind of like to say on the politics side, right? There's good people out there that should run for office, but they won't put themselves out there. Sure. Because it's not
have their lives ripped apart.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you can see how dysfunctional Washington D.C. was last week. It's actually embarrassing to see really a clown show occur. Yeah. In a process that should be so symbolic, right, in our nation and how we conduct business, but we aren't there, right? And I think it also comes down to, as what we can see in the nation, is there's a lot of personal agendas and people just wanting to get in front of cameras. Sure. To try and get another like on social media or another follower on, Twitter and stuff. So I think we fall short in some of our political realms because there are good people out there that they just won't commit themselves to being exposed that way. But they probably shouldn't be because again, it's about people.
Yeah.
Right. It's about leadership and and it's caring. As long as you care, if you care for your people and the ones you lead, they're going to take care of you as a leader. And for me, it's been successful. Like I tell you, like it's awesome to stand in formation, right? And you got to witness my promotion, so I'm thankful for you and the friendship there. But for me, as a first sergeant, to be able to stand in formation, give the commands and the orders for the formation at ceremonies, and seeing those people that I've helped coach and mentor receive an award or promotion, elevating them to the next level. Being able to put the diamond on as another first sergeant because they're now a first sergeant because of what I was able to help them with, or how they saw me present myself as a first sergeant to the formation. It's humbling, right? To be able to have all these opportunities. Again, a kid from Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, getting these opportunities militarily and in the civilian world as a fire chief in multiple municipalities and levels of government is an awesome thing for me, and never forget really where I came from and how I got there.
Yeah, you put yourself out there, though. You know what I mean? You made it happen. It's not like somebody dropped it into your lap. You took the chances. You took yourself out of the comfort zones and gave yourself the opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing because there's so many people just get so wrapped up in the day-to-day of I'm comfortable going and doing this job, and that's not my style.
Sure.
Right?
There's nothing wrong with it, but...
Yeah. And that's why I say about, sometimes there's some really good firefighters out there that have 30 years on the job. It's like, why aren't you a lieutenant or a captain? Because I never wanted to. Like, you need those informal leaders that are going to be that senior person to really take the lead that people can go to before it gets to an officer level, right? Yeah. So there is a really good, important piece about informal leaders. And we even talk about that in our military ranks, Who's those E3s, E4s that are informal leaders before it gets to your E5 and E6s.
NCOs are the Marine Corps.
Yeah, the backbone, right? Yeah. It's important.
It's no different than what I see in business, right? So of course I'll still call it a chain of command, if you will, with a management command, but I still feel like within an organization you're still going to have those just regular people that don't have a managerial position, that don't want the stigma of it or whatever that they don't like about it. And I don't want to deal with that crap. But at the same time, they're the person that has been there for a long time. They know everything there is to. They probably know more than the manager above them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting that some people have the knowledge and the know-how that just don't want the. I don't know if it's responsibility or stigma, whatever it is. It's interesting.
I don't know if it's stigma. Obviously, it's in the military and the police world where I came from. There was always those guys. They were the first ones to bitch and moan about the sergeant, the first ones to bitch and moan about the lieutenants, their captain. And if they had the opportunity to take that position and make a change, well, no, that's not for me, that's not for me, that's not for me. It's almost like if they actually put themselves out there and take the position, they don't know that they could actually do any better than what was actually being done. Because a lot of people like to bitch just to bitch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a change, right?
Yeah.
We always say in the fire service, everybody wants change. They want to do something different. But when you do it, then the complaints happen, right?
Yeah.
But that, to me, is an elevated piece of empowerment of your staff, right? So finding out what the true needs are, implementing them off of their recommendations or off of what they know they need, right, to get the job done, is important. So I think that goes across all boundaries, right? Even in your line of work, is empowering the staff you have to come up with new, innovative ways of doing business that might not be the same. It's always been done that way, right? because I think that's important. We got to get out of the mindset in all realms about it's always been done that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that goes business, military,
Yeah.
firefighting, police work, anything, hospitals.
And again, militarily speaking, we have the industries evolve, but in the military, we're seeing, right, the new generational shift. You don't have your Vietnam vets anymore serving. Now it's
Even the first Iraq
the
vets.
first Gulf War.
90, 91.
Yep. So you're starting to see those folks retire, and you don't have that old ingrained, right, military process
Sure.
of I told you to do this, so you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's more of that collaborative effort of, explaining, telling the story of why we're doing what we're doing, and getting feedback, right? And we have some of the brightest E1s, E2s because of the technology level they've been with their entire life, and having them also really give opinion and feedback and input into processes that we're doing, and we're finding, because of their technology level, they're finding unique ways that we can do business differently, more efficient, and also being effective at the end result of the mission that's been set for us.
They still got to polish silver, though. They still got to do stuff. So fast forward to today. We know where we're at today with you being at Manheim Township.
Yeah, so I was fortunate, again, opportunities, right? Opportunities come to you at different times in life. They come to you at different times in moment. And for me, it was one of those things that just popped up, but I was also ready for that opportunity. And we talk about that also militarily. You never know when that next promotional rank could occur. Mm-hmm. So you better have your stuff in order. So the opportunity presented itself at the township's fire chief was retiring, and taking a really hard look at that, and knowing what we achieved in the city of Lancaster in 3.5 years under the first term of the mayor, knowing we were able to do an apparatus, fleet transition, the building of 2 fire stations, and really elevating the city of Lancaster's Fire Bureau to the next level with their technology and advancements. Knew that, what's my next challenge? Where's my next opportunity to grow? And what better than to be able to do it locally to where now I've made home. So that really was a big deciding factor of let's go for it. And I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to just say, hey, I'm just throwing my name in, hat in the ring. We're going all in on this. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm not doing anything just to get by or cut corners in a process. We're going to go at this full force with the support of the family, right? Everything I've done involves around, Lisa and Kenzie and you guys knowing them and their support. Because I couldn't do any of this without the support of the family throughout the military and public safety. So having them support and say, whatever you want to do, we're behind you. So that to me gives you another, acceleration of that support level and going after it, and was able to obviously be selected and be appointed as their second ever career fire chief. And again, the opportunity there to help lead an organization that isn't done.
Right.
They have so much more to...
They're just getting started.
Exactly, yep. They've only been a paid fire department since like 2010, right? So that was with part-time staff.
That's very minimal too, yeah.
They've only had full-time staff one since 2017. And to see where they're at and the amount of support that the commissioners give, right, and the community as a whole, again, is an important piece of the work that we do. And really bringing our story out as an agency, and I say it about our individuals, about everybody has a story to tell and their why, right? But as a whole, Manheim Township has a huge story to be proud of, right? From our elected officials to everybody that lives there. Proud of the story that fire rescue department's doing, the work they're doing every day, and where they're going to go, right? So there's for me personally as a leader, there's a lot of opportunity for me to grow professionally still, and as a person, because there's not a day that we shouldn't be learning.
That's awesome. Talk about, you talked about your family and your support from your family. What's something you would like to see more from the community as far as support for its firefighters, for its police officers, whether it's from a mental health aspect or obviously monetarily? I think you guys get the support you need, and more mental health. A lot of guys in the fire, police, EMS worlds, nursing worlds, they struggle a lot. So what's something you think could be done, or just your take on where that could be better, whether it's from within an agency or from within a community? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think first off, the biggest thing is the stigma behind it, right? Is it's always been ingrained in people for generations that just suck it up, right?
Yep.
You've been there.
Yep.
You've been through that as well. But it's okay, right? It's okay to cry. It's okay to talk about the bad times, right? Because all of us serving in public safety, from EMTs, paramedics, fire, police, every time that pager goes off or that dispatcher's calling you to a call, you're going to somebody's worst day.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter the level of what we believe to be a minor incident to a major incident. Somebody dialed 911 for help, and it's on us to mitigate it, right? So part of that is, yes, you are going to see the really bad things, and we have to have an outlet for it, because if we don't, we see what the results are.
Yep.
We all in public safety can name somebody we know who has taken their own life because they felt they couldn't talk to anybody.
Or they just told to suck it up.
Or people would make fun of them.
Exactly.
So I think we have done a better job. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing a better job across the board in these professions. Military, we're doing a better job at identifying, putting people in the right places to help support, the resources, talking about it. Hey, this is going to be okay. Here's the, the annual military briefings on that. Having our local hospitals involved in showing that, hey, there's programs, and there's specific programs. So, the city of Lancaster did a great job by an EAP program where they actually gave police and fire a public safety EAP program that they paid extra money for, but you knew you were getting somebody who is also served.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So that's one of those things where, again, the problems are sometimes you get sourced to a health professional who hasn't served. And when you have an Iraq vet, they don't want to talk to a doctor who's only, a couple years removed from college.
Yeah.
Right? That has no perspective on what that individual went through.
Or a psychiatrist working on their master's degree and taking a social work position for an EAP company.
Right. Yep, it's important.
Unfortunately, the history is that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. A 23, 24-year-old cheerleader from Clemson who was just trying to get her social work degree and master's, and this was a job that came up. She's not going to help.
Yeah.
She has no clue.
So yeah, it's important. I think that that we shine light and continue to shine light on the fact that we're on the front lines, and we are the ones that voluntarily raised our hand to support our local communities, the national level. But at the end of the day, we're also human.
But as a chief and as a leader, one of your guys or gals comes to you and says, "Chief, that call last week really messed me up. what do we have? Where can I go? What can I do? You know.
Yeah, so we built internally, right? We have the high level plans like everybody else with, employer funded EAP. We also have our own and developing peer support. So in the city of Lancaster, we developed our own peer support program internal so that our staff knew they could go to other staff members, confidential, obviously, with confidentiality. So we're building that. We're trying to move in that direction in Manheim Township for our staff because it's important.
It is.
It's important also that they're not afraid to reach out to the chief and know they're not going to have potential action, because we know there's employers out there that would immediately terminate people if they said, hey, I have something going on.
Or put them on a leave of absence and start an investigation.
Yep. So it's important that, again, we're treating people right. We're all human. We all have feelings, and at the end of the day, we got to get you on the right path, right? So that's another connection point in my position is we have members that served in the military, right? And if they're struggling, I can relate, right? I might not relate to the actual battle or the operation or the situation, but I got a pretty good foundation, right? Having served in a combat zone of how they would feel, right? So it's important there that we can have a connection. And again, it's about taking care of people.
Yeah.
It's like some of the easiest things to do, and so many people struggle with it.
Yeah, and that was one thing I found in law enforcement is it's a tough guys club. You know, and if you show any emotion or if you admit any type of weakness, well, it was just wrong. That's just not how we do it. You know, my father, I grew up in a police officer home. He was an MP in the Army. He's been a police officer as long as I've been alive, 45, 46 years. You know, we don't talk anymore, but I grew up in that atmosphere, and I saw the way he dealt with it and the way his buddies dealt with it. And then when I became a police officer, I saw how those guys dealt with it. You know, a lot, especially the former military guys. You know, it's you either go to the gym and you just throw a bunch of weights around, or you go to the bar, or you sit at home by yourself, and you start sending random text messages at 2, 3 in the morning that just, it's no bueno. You know, it's not good stuff. And Nick and I have talked about this. We've talked about how can we use this platform that we have here, you know, to help somehow. And obviously somebody in you and in your position, and you get it, you know, and there's certain calls, you know, you show up to a vehicle crash and there's a dead 2-year-old in the car. You know, your guy's got to pull that baby out and the mom's screaming, or you got to pull the mom out dead and there's a 5-year-old that's still alive and sees mom. You know, those types of situations, if you tell me you're a human being and it doesn't affect you, you're lying.
Yeah.
You're absolutely lying. You really are. And that's the kind of stuff you got to see every day. And I applaud you for who you are and the things you've said tonight. You know, that just leadership and helping your guys and gals through that, man. It's awesome.
And again, you know, about leadership and caring, and the staff that I have are phenomenal. And
4 new lieutenants, by the way.
4 new lieutenants on Monday night, right? Another, you know,
Building blocks. Yeah.
Yep, development of our staff, and they're, you know, eligible to go through that process, and now we turn it up, right? Now I got more development of them to get, you know, for the next rank. So there's always a continuous improvement process for us to build upon. So that's why
5 years from now, when you get that request from New York City, hey, one of your lieutenants is applying for captain position or chief position, you're like, oh hell yeah, that's my guy.
And that's why I say
I helped him get there. You know,
that's what I say, right? Don't stick, like, there's a lot of opportunity, right? Don't think you have to at lieutenant captain ranks that you need to stay in the same system you're in. There's going to be a lot of opportunity in Pennsylvania as more municipalities have to put on.
Even Lancaster County.
Yep.
I think we've seen it.
Putting on more paid staff and more chief officers at a municipal level.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fire service is changing, and I think for the better of the citizens.
Yeah. Do you have? Maybe we'll finish up on this. Let's go 2 ways with it. You can say yes or no. 2 calls in your history of fire service. One that really was awesome on the positive side, and or one that was negative that still gets you today. Don't need like details or whatnot, just general timeline of when you were in and how it affected you and maybe how you moved forward from those days.
That's a tough one. But I think in general though, anytime we make a difference, right, in somebody's life, and again it goes back to that, it doesn't matter what it was, right? It can be the simple thing of somebody locked their car keys in their car and dial 911 and going and helping that person, right? That's an accomplishment for that day, and you made an impact on somebody, right? To the person that we performed CPR on and saved their life, right? So I'll bring up a situation that me and Lisa had the opportunity to go to a friend's wedding in New Jersey, and we're walking into the church, and the bride's aunt collapsed in front of us in cardiac arrest, and she's here today to talk about it, right?
Was it you or Lisa?
Lisa did more of the
Of course she
work on
did.
that
I knew that was the answer.
So
Every job needs a supervisor.
That's right.
but again, that goes back, and that one was funny because as we're working it, right, the funny part is the cops. So as we know, we always joke that cops are trying to always beat the fire truck and the ambulance to the call so they can get a medal, right?
Life-saving awards are not a joke, man.
And so in this one, we're doing CPR. We've shocked the lady multiple times. A couple of us were working on her. I think she was shocked like 3 or 4 times. The 2 police officers from that town came in, handed us their bags and said, "Looks like you have this well under control." And they stepped back.
Wow.
So to the point that she was, conscious and breathing and made a full recovery. So
That's awesome.
So it's things that weren't just because I was on the clock.
So were you on the job
Yeah.
then? You were just in
Yeah,
a scenario situation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, but again, it goes back to I look at all the positive encounters. It's one of those things where it's positive impacts on them and staying humble about what we did. So after that, that's before the wedding even
So
started.
they still get married?
They got married. The bride doesn't know that any of this just happened. To the fact that afterwards, and the groom, he helped in the CPR process in his tub.
Oh, wow.
So he's soaking wet in sweat. And again, he's a first sergeant with me in the military.
Is that right?
And just an awesome guy. So
you had training as well? Yeah.
oh yeah, he was. He's a really good dude, and again, getting to see him promote in his civilian fire department as a lieutenant is awesome to see, and to know his job as a first sergeant and what the work he's doing is impacting others. So it's one of those things where, you tell one person, and then they tell 3, right? We're doing the same thing. I am singly helping one guy who I know now he's making an impact on 100, 200, 300 other people, and then the work that they're going to do. But yeah, so we, back to that situation is the wedding went on, right? And we ended up going to the reception, and we're in the line to get drinks, and everybody's talking about this. And somebody turned around like, "Hey, did you guys hear about what happened?" And me and Lisa just played along. We're like, "Yeah, we heard somebody had a heart attack." They're like, "Yeah, these people did CPR on them," right? And we never left it out.
Yeah.
Because that's not who we are,
Sure.
right? Until the bride's dad took the microphone.
Yeah.
And then had to proceed to thank Steve's friends, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just that humbling right? About the process, about experiences. And it goes back to serving other people, selfless service of us, right? You know, in Lisa's position in healthcare, working through COVID, all those things. It's always about somebody else, but knowing that we can make an impact on somebody's life is what counts. So, but I truly can't think of one that would stand out that truly was a negative, because I think everything that I've done, every call I ran, every person I've interacted with, co-workers, right? They all shape you one way or the other.
Yeah.
Good and bad, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we learn that there's people that you can take the negatives from and say, I never want to be like that person.
Yeah.
And then I have a list of that, right? There's a list of people, and there's a list of people that you want to send them a thank you card, and say thank you for doing what you did because you made me a better person.
Yeah.
Because you weren't, right?
Yeah.
And then there's all those people that made the positive impact on my life, and I've been able to share with other people that you can't thank them enough, right? For really putting me down that path and that course that is being able to help others.
Yeah, there's still some good people left in this world. As much as nobody wants to talk about it, they're still here. So, anything else from you for the good of the cause?
No, you know, I really enjoyed that last part of it, honestly, because there's so many people that do focus more on the negatives than anything else. And just hearing everything that you had to say from start to finish tonight, you really look at the positives and you take the good out of even the bad situations. I always try to do that, and it's hard to do that sometimes, man. It really is, but you know, you're a better man for it, and you better everybody else around you when you have that positive outlook on good and bad. So
yeah, because you know it's coming, right? You know not everything can be the rainbows and unicorns, right?
Yeah.
It's not a rose garden.
Yeah. But that's a leader at the end of the day. You know, I mean, the leader is the person that should be lifting up everybody around you, and that says a lot about you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and you know, we still have a lot of work to do, right? And we're going to stay on that track. And again, it's about that support system, right? It's not only necessarily about the immediate family, but it's also about friends like you that I know if there is that bad day, who I can call on, right? And know you're going to answer. So that's the huge piece of it too. Is just that, again, kind of that networking, engagement. And building relations is huge in the process overall.
I call them my 2 a.m. guys.
There you go.
If you're
there you go.
You know, you're in knee deep in shit at 2 a.m. You got to call somebody. Who are you calling? You know, and who are your guys? You know, who are your people you're calling? And that's something my wife always kind of makes fun of me. She's like, just a funny story. We were in Ocean City, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Weren't married yet, you know, didn't have a baby together. I had my other kids, but they weren't with us. We were just down there. We always go down for Memorial Day, and we had some fun. And we were literally just walking down the street, and somebody had a flat tire, like right in the middle of Route 1 in Ocean City on Memorial Day weekend. It was chaos. I mean, traffic's backed up, and I literally ran across 5 lanes. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This guy's in trouble." So I ran across there and pulled a tire out of it. She literally comes over. I'm sweating Jack Daniels out of my pores and just changing this guy's tire. She's like, "You're ridiculous." I was like, "This is what makes a difference, babe. This is what we do." And it just, you know, and I try to be that person for as many people as I can to let them know. You know, again, not to toot my own horn, but just I don't even have to say it. People just know. You know, that if they need something at 2 a.m., you know, my phone number's always there, and it's, you know, and I feel like you're that same type of person, Nick, you're that same type of person. Yeah, and that's just what we strive to make this world better people, you know, make them, I don't know.
Well, it's a crazy world, man, and we can't get through it by ourselves. You just can't. You got to surround yourself with the right people, and I'm a very firm believer in surround yourself with good people, and good things happen. You got to have the support system.
That's what I say. Like the journey you can't do alone.
That's it.
Right. We're going down a journey, and we're going to do it together. And there's going to be those days where you got to call and say, hey, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah.
Right? Because you know those people that are your friends today, and then, but when it really gets tough, they're the ones that won't answer their phone or that text message.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's
That is
keeping
fair.
those like-minded people in your close inner circle.
Your circle. Yeah. And that's it.
Yep,
We
absolutely.
literally just hit the 1 hour mark on the button.
Cool.
So Scott, thank you so much,
You
man.
bet.
This has been awesome. I think
Yeah,
it's our
thanks.
first broadcast, our first thing here.
Yeah.
So
You're our guinea pig.
Hey,
Working
I
out the
love it.
kinks.
I appreciate you guys and what you guys are doing, and just thinking about those frontline workers out there, and giving back what you can, right, and where
Yeah.
you believe you can help support frontline workers in the process, and then doing a good deed for us. So I appreciate that.
No, absolutely, man. And honestly, the main goal in this piece of it here, we do our spotlights on social media and stuff, but what the main goal of this is for people to learn who you are and why you do what you do. Like you said, there's plenty of people that may not agree with the decisions you make every day. You're not here to make friends. You're here to fulfill your obligation, your promise to do the best for your township, your city, and the people. You know what I mean? Those people don't do what you do. They might think they know what's best, but at the end of the day, do they? But they only see a decision you make. They either agree or they don't at the end of the day, right? So I don't want people, you or anybody else in a similar position, I don't want you to be judged by a decision you had to make for the better of your city. You know what I mean? I want them to know Scott Little, why you do what you do, what got you to where you are, and at the end of the day, them to truly know that you're in it for the right reasons and you're going to do what you need to do to make sure that their city is left better than where you found it. So I think we accomplished that here today. So appreciate you going through the whole story, man.
Yeah.
Scotty Little. Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks.
There it is.